If there was one thing you could change or add to the curriculum in a school, what would it be and why?
I mean, mandatory. I mean, mandatory. I wouldn't say mandatory, but encouraged physical exercise and education around physical exercise. Of course, we're in the industry of fitness, but like
Our
the
personal bias.
well, but the amount of kids, like if they fail at everything at school, God, they got to at least be healthy, right? Like, like a lot of kids, like they just don't learn very well. All that, we've got a lot of ADHD, autism, all these things that are diagnosed. Probably always had them, but they're now more diagnosed and more well understood. Like those kids benefit from it. Kids who are unconfident, like who game, who don't have a lot of like physical activity at home, or their parents can't afford sport, this is the only place that they get physical activity. And I think like I don't know, some schools that we go to, they start to introduce gym in grade 11 and 12, and I think that's awesome. If you can have the ability to know how to go to a gym and do something for yourself, or go outside and run a running program for yourself, hell yeah. Like your whole life will be better off. It doesn't even matter if you're not going into an industry that is fitness related or requires physical exercise. Like every aspect of your life, sleep, nutrition, relationships, psychology, is going to be improved by being healthier. And it's proven resistance training is like one of the most beneficial things for everyone.
There's a lot to unpack here because there's like what you're talking about is very much we used to think about the mind and the body as separate, and the more we start to study things, the more we realize that they're very interconnected. So, yeah, your physical health is directly like going to affect your mental health, vice versa.
Yeah.
So you have to look after both.
And
then there's another one they were talking about this morning on the radio where they're talking about how everyone's getting dumber, and we were just talking about the other day how you actually measure intelligence, and intelligence is the ability to have delayed gratification.
Yeah.
So when we test it, it's knowing that if I do this thing now, right, in 6 months' time, I get this thing. The longer that time is, the smarter you are.
Yeah.
Because you can associate that this further down the track will create or give me this kind of outcome. Training teaches you that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do an 8-week program. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I get.
That's what I mean. And it doesn't, like, school doesn't teach that these days. And you can clearly go to someone's like parent and be like, hey, the reason why your kid failed this class is because they didn't show up with intensity, or they didn't show up at all. They didn't want to try. And this is why they couldn't X, Y, and Z by the end of the 8-week program. Oh, my kid is not like that. Well, all the other kids in the class achieved it because they showed up, and it's so much more clear, right? Like,
and we, just to give people context, we work with a lot of kids. Like,
Yeah.
we work one-on-one with a lot of youth kids. We run school holiday programs. We've got a school program starting next term. We've got another school that we're doing at the end of the year. We've got football clubs that we work with. We've got NDIS kids. So it's not like we're talking from a place where we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for years, working with these kids. And even the behavior, like, benefits with some of our NDIS kids is unreal.
It gives them something to look forward to. They've always been categorized as a troubled child or someone who has learning disabilities. But imagine when they start achieving something that other kids from their school can't do. I think that's really important. And that's why, anyone who has kids or, knows of someone with kids who struggle with behaviors or struggle with social communication with adults or even kids their age or their peers, like getting them into physical activity has never been easier, but also it allows you to have time for yourself as a parent. Nothing pains me more than watching parents at swimming clubs or at football grounds sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. That's an hour of your time that you've gotten back. And if time is the most important resource that we have, shouldn't you use that to better yourself or your family? In that time period, you could be working out while your kid is working out, or you could be going up and getting tasks done that that you need to do while your kid is busy. Like, there's so much you can do instead of sitting there watching your child. Your child doesn't want you there. They want you there on game day. They don't want you there on training because they want that freedom, that independence to do it on their own. They don't want mum and dad to hover over
They
them.
need to learn. They
Yeah.
need to fail. And they need to be in these environments. It's like we're just protecting kids these days, and then we're ruining their development.
Yeah. And how much benefit have you seen from the kids that integrate and go around and communicate with the adults? Like, they get to see what is possible. They're not surrounded by peers their age. They're surrounded by people older and more successful than them. So then they have something to look forward to. Like, I've heard kids be like, I can't wait to finish school so that I can get a full-time job, or I can, start training regularly and I don't have the restrictions of a school schedule. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Like, you guys are already looking ahead because they're used to that delayed gratification rather than like, I want this now. I want my Roblox. I want my Minecraft. Like, I want
And they're,
this.
they're hanging around adults.
Yeah.
Like the adult conversation has been removed. Like you've got social media, which basically just feeds them their friend groups. You've got school that segregates them by age. Like the gym is a perfect environment, especially group fitness. When we filter them into the group classes, you get 14-year-olds who are now hanging around CEOs.
Yeah.
Like they would never get that exposure
No.
and never be part of that conversation ever. When you talk to a kid like a kid, they stay a kid.
That's it.
Like when you talk to them like an adult, they start to learn. Like everything's mimicking. Like you don't want to be their best friend. Like our role is to set them up for success, and sometimes it means like I want to just be his best friend, but I've got to have a little bit of foresight and be like, hang on, like I shouldn't just be the fun one.
Yeah, yeah. And that's also what you said. Like, because they hang out with the CEOs, their opportunities after school massively improve because they have relationships with people who have jobs in areas that they interest or they want to go. Like, it's so hard to get a job these days if you don't know someone in the industry or you don't have experience. You've just taken away one of those elements for them. They know plenty of different people working in plenty of different industries. They could get a job if they asked. The CEO sees them working hard in the gym. Wow, this young kid's putting in the work. Like, I wish my son could do that, or I wish I knew people like kids his age that could do that. So they've already got respect for you. So it's like when you now ask them, hey, do you have any opportunities to intern your job? Hey, can I have an apprenticeship at your electrician firm? Like, cool. Like, they're probably going to say yes, unless you're just like a piece of crap. Like, your kid's just like wildly uncontrollable, which we'd never see. They're always super humble and they're always very respectful of the adults.
Especially when you remove the parent from the scenario a lot of time. The
Yeah.
parent can be the trigger and that can be a hard conversation.
Yeah, because they're safe and they feel like comfortable around their mum or dad. But when they're removed from that and they're with another adult, they show respect, they listen, they
But
care.
there's that fear of the unknown. They don't know who you are. Like there's that, oh, Tyler could be dangerous.
He's an authority figure.
Yeah, like, and that's not a bad thing. Like the kids do need to be around that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed when they're around is it's just perception. So like a lot of the conversation when someone's in the, like I think about a lot of times you're in the car ride with friends and stuff when you're younger, especially in Australia, it's really bad. You drive past an expensive house or you drive past someone with an expensive car and mum will be like, oh, they're a drug dealer. Or like,
they got that given to them.
yeah, oh, they
Inheritance.
must have inherited money. And
Yeah.
it's like, but when the kids now get to actually hang around these CEOs who have money, they're like, oh shit, they work 90-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Like their perspective matches reality.
Yeah.
As where
What do they do in their spare time? They watch, videos about investing stocks. They watch Alex Hormozy talk about how to improve your business. They watch X, Y, and Z. They don't play Minecraft. They don't watch Netflix. They don't do these things.
they're not out partying on the weekend.
They don't
like,
own expensive
they're
cars.
working 7 days. You're working 5.
Yeah.
They're getting an extra 100 and something days a year in.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to move faster than you.
Exactly. Or they're investing that time on themselves.
Yeah.
That's why they're at the gym. This is like, oh, I'm in between meetings at the moment. I'm going to get a session in. Like, cool. Like, that's what I want to aspire to be. I don't want to aspire to be, the kid at school who got everything given to him by his parents because they wanted him to have a really good life. I want to be that kid that earns everything himself and has those resources and that mental fortitude to then create something of myself, whether it's in a field I know or don't. And that's also another thing that no one talks about. After school, no one knows what to do. Like, I didn't know what I was going to fucking do. I was like, I just assumed based on what school told me I should do, the areas I should go into. But imagine if I got to hang around a bunch of people who already had their lives sorted and have invested time in a certain field that they've become really good in. I could look at them and be like, which type of person do I want to be like? And then I can make more accurate choices. Still might make mistakes, but at least I'm getting guided into a better area rather than just kind of like looking at a wine list and closing my eyes and picking the one that comes up.
But you're
first.
making decisions, and most people don't even make any decisions.
Yeah, and you get to see their lifestyle and you get to ask them questions and they give you feedback. Should I go into this job? Should I do this like industry? From my experience, someone who's excelled in it for years, no, or yes, or this is what I would expect, and they give you feedback. And like they're just, even though it's long-winded, we've gone way over a minute now. Like this is what I think the kids, the most important thing for them is just surrounding themselves with a good environment. The kids your age aren't normally a good environment because they want to be childish. They don't care about what's happening next year. They care about what's happening now. They care about what Sally or Sarah thinks about them and how they look. They care about what Instagram says they should care about rather than reality, what the adults are doing, the ones who have already succeeded or already gone through what they've been through and persevered or improved. And then from their perspective, the older people, like the CEOs and stuff, they get to help the youth out. They get to guide them in the right way. They can use some of their knowledge and time and resources to help them put themselves into a great position. Like I know for a fact that and we all know who he is, Gov from our gym. He's been coming 2 years now, and he's been training minimum 3 days a week. And he told me the other day, like, this is the first time I've had an off season from cricket, and he's been coming 5 days a week. He's been training the class, going upstairs, doing bodybuilding. I guarantee, like, if he asked anyone for a job, they would give it to him. They'd be like, this kid is freaking committed. He's got a good mindset. He's respectful. They're all the things you look for in an employee, right? Like, and like it just fast tracks the CEO's job. Like, oh, he's a outstanding person that I've had opportunity to surround myself with, and I can like watch them and monitor their behavior, like, and then just gives him so much more opportunities too, right?
Yeah, and it's very much like it's against his culture. Like a lot of his culture, it's not normal for them to train.
No,
Like it's very normal for them to just play cricket all year round.
yeah, but like he's now excelling because he can work on his weaknesses, develop unilateral imbalances, improve his power output, his fitness, his overall conditioning on and off season. His cricket's going to be better. Even without like playing cricket, he would be fitter. He'd be able to go for longer. He'd be able to hit the ball harder. Like all these elements that improve. So I think if you're a parent and you have kids and you don't know or they don't have any interest in sports or they're scared to try sports, the gym is the best place to start them because it's not, in our case, especially in Unbound, it's definitely forgiving. It allows them to be implemented into an environment where people will encourage them. And the amount of times that one of my kids, I've brought them downstairs or I've brought some of the more experienced members around them to cheer them on, the amount of friendships or relationships they create and the confidence they build from that, they come back. They don't want to leave. They're like, they tell their mom, I don't want to come once a week. I want to come 3 days. I don't want to come on my own. I don't want you to be there. Like, isn't that what you want for your kid? Independence? You don't want, or you want them to like depend on you for the rest of your life. Like, I know which one I pick, but it's just like,
yeah, like we want to give them the skills to be able to thrive. Like it's they're gonna live. Our kids are gonna grow up and to be in a time where there is gonna be less opportunities, and the opportunities that are there are gonna be very different.
yeah,
So it's gonna be more important for them to have these skills than ever.
yeah,
So the more we try and coddle and the more we try and protect them, the less they're gonna be able to develop any skills.
yeah.
Because part of learning skills is doing things you don't normally do.
No,
Starting with sucking. So it's like
starting with sucking.
you've got
I
to
like that.
you got to suck and then do it a lot, and then there's a term like volume negates luck. So it's like you just want them to get lucky, or do you want to actually have a bit more of a predictable outcome?
Yeah, it teaches them something, whereas luck doesn't teach them anything.
Like I know for me, like I got a kid coming, and Tiana asks me all the time, like, "What's our parenting style going to be? What do we want?" I was like, "I just want him to be a good kid. Like I just want him to be happy and be a good person, and like what is like be respectful to other people. Like, and a lot of that's going to be perspective. Like I've got to expose him to things that might not necessarily be something that people would be like, oh, that's normal.
Yeah.
If all he does is live in an environment where he's going to be in a gym where he's got access to all these things that other kids don't have.
Yeah.
Like he's going to have such an advantage and be exposed to like conversations that other people would never ever get the opportunity to be exposed to.
Or can't afford to do,
Like
right?
his whole life is going to be around business owners, CEOs, like everything that other people just wouldn't be around.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, it's like I've got to show him the opposite. So he's got to, if that's all he grows up around, that's just going to be normal. Like he still needs to understand that like the quality of living for other countries is very different.
Yeah.
So like when we travel, like part of traveling is going to be taking him to some of these places.
Yeah. Showing him perspective, right? And that's the main thing. I think, yeah, kids don't have perspective these days. They're too glued to their iPads.
Yeah.
They're too glued to the comfort that they have. They don't understand, like, life is hard. And, like, especially for other people who have a lot worse conditions, but they tend to make something of themselves or they do the things that the kid wants to do. Like, it's purely just because, like, they just want it more. And, like, you need to be surrounded in an environment that helps allow you to do that. Even if you're not the type of person who is physically fit, genetically gifted, talented by default, or has, parents who come from a background like that.
I hate this genetics conversation. Like, it does my head in.
Yeah.
It's all over social media now.
And it's just like,
where it's like genetics. It doesn't serve anyone.
No.
Like, statistically, most people just need to fucking do shit better. Like
Yeah.
train more, eat better. Like when all we talk about is these 1%ers, it's like it just disheartens everyone.
Yeah.
Like we talk, everything is net positive, net negative. It's a net negative. Stop talking about it.
Yeah, it doesn't
like-
serve.
It's a behind closed door conversation. It's good for us to know, but would you tell your client?
No.
It disempowers them. Why the fuck would you even talk about genetics?
No. I would always emphasize and highlight the positives of what they have.
Yeah,
And I
just
just
giving
wouldn't-
them an excuse.
I wouldn't tell them the negatives. I'd be like, wow, your hips are really mobile. You'd be great for sumo.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not saying like, wow, your ankles suck, or like, you know, you have a really tight upper back. Probably shouldn't conventional deadlift ever. Like, don't tell them that. Like, they don't need to know that.
Oh, you don't have the genetics or the body type for CrossFit.
Yeah, look at
That
that kid
shouldn't
over.
even be part of the conversation.
Look at that kid over there. He's done what you did in a quarter of the time. Holy crap, his genetics are good. Like, you don't need to know that. Like, wow, look what you've achieved. You've done so well for yourself in the last X amount of time. So that's all I need to know. Like, they don't need, like, you don't need to, like, you know, you know what I mean? Like, but on the other side of it, like, you don't also need to put them down. You don't need to, like, make them feel bad. You can just be honest and be like, but, like, do it in a way that, you know, doesn't give them that excuse of, like, hey, this is the reason you can't achieve 100 kilo squat. It's because your femurs are, like, you know, 0.5 centimeters off the adequate length for, you know, a perfect squatter. Sorry. You know, you're never going to, it doesn't matter. You can do everything you want. Put your fucking mind to it. I think that's a good place to leave the 1 minute conversation we had. This is the podcast itself, right? We just created.
That must have been a good question.
Yeah.
Nah, the kids one is a good question.
It's because that's our thing right now. But we're gonna sign off there because I have to go. So
I got butter chicken to eat.
that sounds yummy. But that's gonna be episode 3. 3? Yeah, 3. Minute on, minute off. Episode 1 of that.
Minute
So,
on, minute off, 9-minute finisher.
yeah, that's it.
Sorry, 16-minute finisher.
16-minute finisher.
16-minute cool down.
All right, that's done. I got my client now.